I was reacquainted with an old friend recently. This is the Canon FD135 f2 lens. I bought it sometime in the 90s and then I moved to Thailand in 2003. When I did so, I left all of my film gear at home. I went back in 2017 and I managed to retrieve some film gear, but not everything. I couldn't find this lens, I was quite disappointed. However, I've just been back again for the second time and I did find this lens, so I was really pleased because it's one of my favourite lenses. It's a really lovely lens. I've seen these online for sale used and they look really beaten up. All the paintwork is chipped and scratched. This one is still in really nice condition. Maximum aperture f2, minimum aperture f32. It's got a 72mm filter and it's got a built-in lens hood. It's quite heavy, it lets in a lot of light, there's a lot of glass in the lens. It's about 670 grams, but it's still a really nice lens to use and it takes some really outstanding images. In this video, I've just taken some shots with my Canon EOS M6 Mark II, just really to give you an idea of sharpness and bokeh. And if you're wondering about using old manual focus lenses with digital cameras, you need an adapter. And the problem with DSLRs was that without any optics in the adapter, you couldn't focus to infinity. So you had to have a special adapter with optics. With mirrorless cameras, it's not the same. You don't need any optics in the adapter. The adapter's purely mechanical, and it's just to allow you to fit the lens onto the camera. And regarding exposure, there's probably many ways you can do it. The way I do it, I just put the camera into aperture priority mode and then change the aperture on the lens using the aperture ring, and then the camera will sort out the shutter speed automatically. And I normally just set a fixed ISO in the camera, but you can use auto ISO as well. And because there's no electronics in the lens, when you put the lens onto the camera isn't aware that there's a lens on it. So it thinks there's no lens. So there's a setting in the custom functions that allows you to release the shutter without a lens, and you have to enable that setting. So what you'll see in the video are several shots of the same scene using different aperture values, just so that you'll get an idea as to what difference it makes using those different aperture values. There are a few sample images, not too many, but what I'm planning to do in the near future is to do more sample images using film cameras. And I'm planning to use my Canon T90. Now, if I look at my YouTube stats, the video I did of the Canon A1 is far more popular, but it has limitations. And for this test, I really want to use the T90. And different reasons for that. Firstly, the ergonomics and the responsiveness of the T90 just make it such a joy to use. It is a beautiful camera to use. Secondly, the metering is far superior to the A1. The A1 was a good camera in its day, but it really is let down by its sort of poor metering. That's the sort of Achilles heel of the A1. And thirdly, this lens is so fast, it lets in so much light that if you go out when there's bright sunshine, which there is in Thailand quite often, you need really fast shutter speeds. And the fastest shutter speed on the T90 is 1/4000th of a second. But on the A1, it's only 1/1000th of a second, which isn't really fast enough. So for those sample images, I will be using my Canon T90. I really hate the obsessiveness of using lens test charts and pixel peeping. So what I've done, I just found a little piece of artwork on Flickr from a talented artist called Arlen Dean. That's in the foreground, that's what the lens is focused on. And in the background are two cats that are staggered. So I started off using the maximum f2 aperture, and with each subsequent shot I've closed the aperture down slightly so you'll see a smaller aperture, a longer shutter speed, and as the aperture gets smaller you'll be able to see more detail in the background because of the deeper depth of field. One video I saw about this lens said that the lens wasn't very sharp when fully opened at f2, but I haven't really found that problem. Here's 100% crop at f2, and here's the exact same shot at f8, and back to f2 again, and not a huge amount of difference. This is a quick shot of my son taken at the swimming pool, and if you were wondering about focusing, with film cameras they have special focusing screens which are designed for manual focus lenses. Digital cameras don't have those, but what they do have is a really nice feature called focus peaking. So what happens when your subject is in focus, it will turn a certain colour, and on my camera you can choose between red, blue and yellow. And I've done some testing, and what works best for me personally is the yellow colour. So when things turn yellow, then I know that they're in focus. And what you need to do is just to test each colour yourself and see which colour is best for you. This shot will give you an idea of colours, contrast, sharpness and bokeh. And to be honest, this lens is as good as any other lens I own, including some EF-L lenses. This is just a random woman at the swimming pool, and the reason for including this shot was to demonstrate the out of focus background, the bokeh. There are no bright highlights, no weird artifacts, it's just really nice, creamy, smooth bokeh. It just gives such pleasing results, this lens. The minimum focusing distance is 1.3 meters. So it's no good for macro, and it was never intended for macro. Back in the film days, the ideal focal length for a portrait lens was always considered to be 85 to 135 mm. So this is a really perfect portrait lens. It's got lovely colours, lovely contrast, it's sharp, and it renders a really nice bokeh in the background. As I mentioned previously, I'm planning to take some more sample images with this lens using a film camera. So if you want to see that video, please subscribe to the channel so you get a notification when the video is uploaded. Thank you for watching.